Come. The Seva, Harikatha. So often we sing Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Gokula Taruni Mandala. This is Rupa Goswami's like introduction kirtan for Srimati Radhika. He's saying this Taruni, this wonderful, beautiful young Srimati Radhika, this Kishori, everything in the spiritual reality is like turning around her. Like a mandala. Everything is a mandala around Srimati Radhika. And really we know that all leelas that are happening are just because of for Srimati Radhika and the meeting of Srimati Radhika. We heard like, oh, why did Krishna do Krishna Kaliya Leela? Not for the punishment of any being. This is so external. So this Asura, no Vaishnava meditates on this Asura, and this is very, very superficial. But Krishna is very eager to relish Purvarag. Radha and Krishna are like very, very young, and both feel we would like to meet each other. And then suddenly, Krishna is in the coils of Kaliya, completely enwrapped. And now it's a time of catastrophe. Everyone is running there at the bank of Yamuna. And Krishna is always looking up quick. It's like sometimes in a theater play, they look out. Is the public already, are they sitting? Are they ready? Through the curtain? No, not yet. So Krishna is looking from the coils of Kaliya. Is Srimati Radhika already here? No, I wait. Now when Srimati Radhika is here, oh, now Krishna becomes the great hero, dancing, and at every step that he's dancing on the heads of Kaliya, he's just looking towards Srimati Radhika and telling him with a kripa kataksha, with a sidelong glance, he says, I beg you, maybe one day we can dance like this together. Even a little later, when Krishna is coming out of the water, whole inhabitants are there, and Krishna is just walking by the gopis. It's like the first time they have eye-to-eye meeting from very close. And the whole Vrindavan thinks, now we are here at the bank of Yamuna. Let us not go back. Let us stay the night here in the forest at the bank of Yamuna. So everyone made like a picnic and stay overnight there. This was the time that Radha and Krishna have beautiful, when everyone was sleeping, they looked at each other from some distance. So like everything turns, the whole spiritual reality is like turning around that deep center, the beautiful exchange between Shama Shyam. And so this is what we start learning, just hearing and worshipping Harikatha. It's a complete, we start to feel where the center of whole existence, where everything turns around. This can also become the center of our existence. And slowly, slowly, like irresistible Krishna, this means Akarshana Shakti, irresistible attraction, and everything starts to turn around the center of all existence. So So this is like when we understand this in the Bhagavatam, then we understand, oh, these very same personalities, that everything is turning around them. Now they have another Leela as Gora and Gadadhara, and this is the topic of our worship at the moment. So it's like that what makes the spiritual world, the essence, suddenly is transported in this world. We can become accustomed or closer. This is the meaning of upasana. This is the Sanskrit word for worship, upasana. But worship doesn't mean just external rituals. It means upasana, to sit close or to be close. So slowly, slowly become acquainted, we become close. This is real adoration. So to enter the very mystical realm of an eternal reality of Gaura and Gadadhara. This is what we do, and not for the rest of life, nothing else to do.
Thank you, Krishna-bhakti, for your words. Thank you for your words. Your reminder about which is the axis of reality around which everything revolves. Making this connection with the word mandala. Śrī Rādhā could be called Mandaleshwari. She around whom everything revolves. So welcome you all again, Pranam. Today we are having our 6th meeting, coming into the mandala, into the circle, to realize who is in the center of the circle and how it's then revolving. And as Krishna Chandra beautifully said, upasana, today is also Ekadashi, sometimes Ekadashi is also known upabhas, which also means to reside close. So we find all these many words. Upanishad means to sit close. All these words that went upa, which is all like an invitation for closeness and proximity. The closer we get, the more disclosure we can catch. So in our 6th meeting today, I wanted to continue with the topic we shared in our last session. We were exploring the life of Gadādhara Paṇḍita in Jagannath Puri, his second half of life, especially concentrating on his speaking on the Bhāgavatam. And now I'd like to go a little bit more in detail to the worship of Tota Gopinatha and what all this means in connection to Mahāprabhu tasting Radha Bhav and Gaur Lila becoming finally a success for all of us. We need Gaur Lila to be a success because if not, we have no hope. And then we will conclude with a few words on Gadādhara Paṇḍita's last days on the manifest Prakat Lila before our last session tomorrow on the adoration of Gaur Gadādhara. So I'd like to share a few words on Tota Gopinatha. If you all have had darshan of Tota Gopinatha, if not somehow rather hear a brief darshan of them. Tota Gopinatha in the center, on the sides there is Śrī Rādhā and Lalita. We'll be talking quite a while about them. Brief darshan, blackish darshan. We'll be talking about why. So that's Tota Gopinath. My favorite place in Puri also, just in case. Beautiful place for many reasons. We already were talking today about how these Bhagavad recitals were happening there. So Tota Gopinath, the deity that Gadadhara, Nishtadeva of Gadadhara Paṇḍita in Jagannath Puri. So what's the connection between Gadadhara Paṇḍita worshipping Tota Gopinath? What's the meaning of Tota Gopinath in connection to Mahāprabhu, who by this time he's more and more deeply relishing Radha Bhava in the Gambhira, as we mentioned, and they are not meeting each other in person that much at one point any longer. So first of all, why Tota Gopinath? No, Tota means garden. So the garden Gopinath. And Gopinath who was found in the garden. If you go today even to the Tota Gopinath temple, you have the mandir and then you have the Tota. Have a big garden, beautiful garden, with different small kutters also with different sadhus living there, and nice garden and different cows and this and that. So it is said that one day how this deity manifested from the garden, because that's the story. This Gopinath manifested from the garden next to the temple. Jameshwar Tota is also a name for this garden. And one day Mahāprabhu was asking, in separation, asking Gadadhara Paṇḍita, where is Krishna? Remember, he asked that question in Navadvip, and Gadadhara replied, and it went a little dangerous. Remember? He said, Krishna's in your heart. Mahaprabhu started to tear apart his chest. So at this point, Mahaprabhu, his last year, still they were meeting each other. And Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhara, where is my Prananath? Where is Krishna? In the mood of Radha in separation. And Gadadhara is helpless, like, what to say now? If I say what I say, and that what happened was that years back in Navadvip, now the thing's getting more and more intense. Yes, I don't know what to do. So he was remembering that, and he was helpless without saying much. And somehow Mahaprabhu fell to the ground, in that ecstasy of separation, and started to dig down. He didn't turn apart his chest, he torn apart the earth, so to say, starting to dig in the sand, because it's a sandy garden there. And calling, where are you? Where are you? Here you are. He finds this deity called Gopinath, big one. So that was a considerable digging work. So the Murti appeared of Gopinath in this garden, eventually known as Jameshwar Tota. So why Gopinath? We already clarified why Tota, because it was found in the garden this way. And why Gopinath? Well, Mahaprabhu was in Radha Bhava, looking for the Krishna that corresponds with Radha Bhava, which is not Yashodanandan Krishna or whomever. Was Gopinath or Radhanath. Can also call Tota Radhanath, Tota Gopinath. So the deity was called Gopinath because it's a Krishna that corresponds with the gopis. There is a particular Krishna to correspond not only to a particular rasa but to specific devotees. As you love me, I reciprocate accordingly. I take even a shape carved out by the strength of your love. That's how personal Krishna is. And of course, we could also say that Gopinath was given to Gadadhara by Mahaprabhu, because remember, Mahaprabhu found Gopinath and then gave it to Gadadhara for him to worship, because somehow Gopinath is, as we were explaining on the first day, the birthplace, quote unquote, of Gaur Lila, in the heights of Rasa Lila, with Krishna's Gopinath with the gopis, saying, Naparayaham, I cannot repay you. Gopinath is the master of the gopis, which is in this case kind of a sarcastic, the master of the gopis becoming mastered by them and saying, I cannot repay back your debt. So this is the deity handed down to Gadadhara Paṇḍita. So as you may have seen in the picture, Gopinath, and I'm fast forward here a little bit, but I have to explain why Gopinath is in Padmasana. Padmasana means how Swami Padmanabha is sitting. Have to honor my name and sit in Padmasana, which means the lotus-like posture, sitting cross-legged, like many of us are doing now. So it is said, fast forwarding to the very last days of Gadadhara, after Mahaprabhu passed, Gadadhara Pandit lived like for 11 more months after Mahaprabhu passed. But he was in deep separation, as you can imagine. Deeply emaciated, you say? Emaciated. His body was like bent down, and at one point Gopinath has its considerable size. So for Gadadhara it was becoming difficult, if not impossible, to worship Gopinath properly, to put the garland, to put Chandra. It was too high for Gadadhar's bent situation, so to say. At one point, Gadadhara Pandit thought, okay, Mahaprabhu was clear, as we say today, he didn't want the worship of Gopinath to be stopped, but I cannot continue this worship. So I'm thinking about getting some other pujari, someone else to worship Gopinath. So that very night, it is said that Mahaprabhu appeared in a dream to Gadadhara and said, you don't need to make any arrangements. That was kind of the message. And of course, originally, of course, just in case, originally the deity of Tota Gopinath was not in Padmasana. He was standing, Tribhanga, curved in three, like the usual deities we see of Krishna. So he has this dream, Gadadhara. No need to concern, I will make the arrangements. And the next day he goes, opens the altar, and Gopinath had sit down, so Gadadhara could continue worshipping him. So it's the only deity, basically, that we will see, to my knowledge at least. Maybe there may be some replica of it, but it's kind of the original only deity of Krishna sitting in Padmasana. There's one verse from Krishna Karnamrita, actually, where this is kind of hinted at. I have it here. It's Krishna Karnamrita 3, section 3, verse 100 says, Kadambamule kridantam vrindavana niveshitam Padmasana stitam bande venum gayantam achyutam. So I adore Achyuta, who has entered Vrindavan and who is seated in Padmasana, in the lotus posture, at the foot of a Kadamba tree and playing the flute. So somehow there is a trailer in Krishna Karnamrita, who was no wonder a favorite text for Mahaprabhu as well. So Tota Gopinath.
Just one little thing.
Okay. I'm joking. I think we can tolerate one little thing from Krishna.
It's a very great mystery, because the deity is like ready, vigraha. I'm ready to accept all the service. That's why they stand. They're so much ready. But this sitting posture, because I heard from many Vaishnavas, and this is quite beautiful, at the time of Gopi Geet. This is in the middle of the night. Krishna disappeared in the forest. So the gopis, they wanted to follow him, but it was like a pain. If he wants to go, we force him to go even further when we follow him. So they did something. They just retired at the bank of Yamuna and started doing a thing to attract Shyam Sundar. This means kirtan from the heart. So for millions of gopis, this wonderful, beautiful song came out, Gopi Geet. And at the end of Gopi Geet, they say, Radhika is like saying, Yate Sujata Jalanam Buruham Staneshu. It's like, and Krishna is somewhere in the bushes hearing everything. So when he hears Srimati Radhika's moods, Krishna, he has to come out and jumps out. And he's a little shy. He's like smiling. He's holding his cloth because he's so he knows I made a mistake. I'm sorry. So, and now suddenly he's surrounded by thousands of gopis. And Krishna, he made a mistake. So, and the gopis are saying, why did you leave? Very with strong verse. And now Krishna is sitting at Srimati Radhika's feet, looking up and saying, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry. So that moment, and Radhika is like higher up because Krishna is now sitting. Swadhin Bhatrika Nayika. She is like the one who is controlling Krishna, and Krishna is like there at his feet, at her feet. So this is the sitting Gopinath. Because the deity is never just a thing from this world. It always refers to a moment in eternity. So now Mahāprabhu really thinks like, oh Gadādhara, you gave me so much. I want to give you something, this Tota, this sitting Gopinath, because I want to give you, remember this scene. So this is, many said like this is why he's sitting. Externally, okay, because he's old, this is true. But like internally, it's more, it's a reminder of Srimati Radhika from that very, very sweet moment at the end of Gopinath.
Just we say the other days, the beginning of Gaur Lila in Krishna Lila, no? We said, after that he says, Napari Hamnira Bhadra Sanjay, and reappearing.
Just the next chapter.
Yeah.
The picture that there was after Radha was only worshipped. The only
Yeah, but not that later, because at least as it is said, as we were mentioning, that's the place where sort of Damodar and Gadadhara Paṇḍita entered when closing their pastimes. Around that time. We don't have the exact day and timing, but around the time, yeah. Not to my knowledge. Mystery.
that you asked.
Come to that. Wait.
We'll see. If I'm not come to that, he will come to that. And maybe we can briefly explore also the whys of, since we are mentioning Lalita and Radha, not only why, not so much why they are there next to Gopinath, but why they are blackish. You have seen in the picture, they're all same color. So here Radha appears as Shamsundari, if you will. And Lalita is Kahavyuha of Radha, like immediate expansion, appearing the same way. So why? There are a few leelas also. Again, the thing with this is beautiful is that you can give, there are many explanations and perspectives and levels given by sadhus, and as Srila Maharaj will say, all of them are correct. Not that you come with any story and that's correct, but there are many genuine possibilities, like when speaking about the passing of Mahāprabhu or anything. Which one you would like to share with us? Well, there's one lila that is say that Krishna was, sadhus mentioned, Krishna was playing flute in Padmasana. So Radha and Lalita came one day and they wanted to blow, wanted to blow the flute. And Krishna said like, sorry, but one has to be exactly like me. Same color, same posture, which means that you can never blow it. Again, some churning of the heart. So they were provoked like this, And it is said that, again, one of many stories, Lalita and Śrī Rādhā practice tapasya to become, acquire Krishna's hue. Hue? And standing in Tribhangi posture, also practicing the crookedness, because it's not that easy. You see the picture and it looks nice, but you try to stand in balance without practicing, you can have a tragedy at Anandadam. They were practicing Tribhanga, they were practicing tapasya to receive. So yeah, eventually they received that blessing. And it is said that this is the only place, at least, maybe there may be replicas again, but as it's the only place where you find Krishna in Padmasana, only place where you find Radha and Lalita in this Sham hue. And of course, as Krishna Chandra was mentioning, also some other reference will be when Radha becomes so absorbed in separation of Krishna, that she manifests that particular hue as well. As we have sometimes in other places, you may have seen, at least Srila Prabhupada installed deities of Krishna being white, as well as Radha, white or, bright. And it could be connected to Sri Krishna being so absorbed in her. That's how he will explain that. What else? Yes? Bona fide? So anyhow, a few words to begin with to introduce actually Tota Gopinatha. We are just warming up for Tota Gopinatha. Now we will try to enter into the meaning of the worship of Tota Gopinatha in the context of Mahāprabhu relishing Radha Bhav in the Gambhira. And we already explained earlier today the Bhāgavata recitation and how this was a very important tuition and training for Mahāprabhu to receive from Gadādhara all these samskars for him to be successful in his enactment of Radha Bhav, going to Gambhira, practicing there, doing the homework, so to say. So Gadadhara is instructing Mahaprabhu daily on the Bhagavatam. Then Mahaprabhu goes to Gambhira accompanied by Sarup Damodar Ramananda Roy, crying, trying to imbibe what he has learned. And Gadadhara Pandit, the more Mahaprabhu is progressing in this relishing, the more Gadadhara Pandit is watching from a safe distance, as we will say. Like the example sometimes given is like a father teaching his son to ride a bicycle, right? So in the beginning, the son sees the bicycle, it's like, oh, that's too intimidating. I don't know if I can do that. But I will try. So, okay, sit down. Father is carrying the son with one hand in the back, the bicycle. Still, the father is doing all the job mostly. Gradually, okay, taking out one hand and one hand here. So gradually, taking more distance from the son, till the son starts to, writing, still falls sometimes. The father is there to awake. So Gadadhara was doing like this with Mahaprabhu in his practicing Radha Bhav. Okay. And at one point when the child is riding on the bicycle by himself, he will be like, wow. And at one point the father's presence will be a disturbance there, right? The child will say, okay, Dad, thank you, but you can leave now. So in the same way, as the Antya Lila is progressing, as Mahaprabhu is becoming more and more successful in relishing Radha Bhav, by the grace of Gadadhara, very humbly, Śrī Rādhā, Gadadhara is retiring behind the curtain. As we were saying, as Gaur is flourishing in tasting Radha Bhav and the whole world is Srimad Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Gadadhara is quietly disappearing, dwindling and serving in separation. Not an easy position to be, but that situation is the most glorious. Again, this dwindling is not diminishing at all Gadadhara Pandit's position, but rather showcasing his selflessness, his full giving to allow his prana to be totally successful, and relishing that at the distance in Tota Gopinatha. This is, as we said the other day, in the final chapter of Caitanya Charitamrita is Shikshastakam. And the final verse of Shikshastakam, Ashlisha Bhapadaratham Pinashtumam, Krishna-das Kaviraj Goswami said this verse was spoken by Śrī Rādhā, which means, actually Mahaprabhu spoke it, but which means Mahaprabhu made it. Right? That's, he attained Radha Bhav. At the very end of the story, like the movie is finishing, the book is finishing, this verse spoken by Radha, which again, it's not directly, but indirectly, he's suggesting Mahaprabhu was successful, mission accomplished. Though it's a never-ending project, as we say, and that's why we need a Nitya Navali, but as much as that could be a success in that span of time on earth, mission accomplished. Something like that. And again, at that height of Mahaprabhu's triumph, he's basking in the glory of relishing Radha Bhav, and Gadadhara is in Tota Gopinath, in ecstasy, celebrating at the distance the success of his beloved. But again, properly understood, the role of Gadadhara even diminishes the glory of Mahaprabhu. Without downplaying Mahaprabhu himself, but properly understanding the role, the selflessness, the attitude of Gadadhara Pandit is making Mahaprabhu's glorious attainment of Radha Bhav pale in comparison. Because as we say, without Gadadhara, Mahaprabhu could not have been successful in relishing Radha Bhav. Gadadhara is giving his entire self and quietly removing into the background in Tota Gopinath. That's why we say these days, arguably Gadadhara Pandit is the most important figure in the whole of Gaur Lila. So I hope I made this case clear by this point. The mandala. We are trying to make some full circle a little bit. So Gadadhara did all this from the area of Tota Gopinath, which also is close to this area of Chatak Parvat, which is on the other side. It's a sandy area. So even we could use an analogy that Gadadhara moved to the lonely sands, like the archetypal desert. No? Like many mystics will go to the desert. Separation, Chatak Parvat, that area. And there Gadadhara stayed, worshipping Tota Gopinath, the black Krishna, while the golden Krishna was lost in Radha Bhav, so to say, in the Gambhira. So again, during these last years that Mahaprabhu was relishing Radha Bhav in Gambhira, Gadadhara was worshipping Tota Gopinath. He was not going to Gambhira. We gave a few examples of why, like Krishna Chandra Prabhu quoted from Srila Narayan Maharaj about a wife who had just lost her husband, and some other lady lost her husband, and there's not much to say. We can give another analogy. There are many analogies. We can leave this like another way. Apart from the bicycle example in another direction, you have an actor who is learning during the day from the director during the day. But in the evening, the actor has to perform on a stage, but the director is not on the stage, right? The actor is on the stage. And what if the director is a very famous person, and in the acting is about enacting the life of the director, which is the case here, right? Krishna is enacting the life of Radha, so to say. Right? Krishna is the actor, Radha is the director, Radhikar Prema Guru, Mrs. Yanata. Krishna is the actor, the director, and the whole drama is about the life of the director, Radha Bhav. So if the director appears on a stage, it's a mess, right? It's going against the desired mood. So similarly, Gadadhara, Radha, the director, staying at a safe distance in Tota Gopinath. Because if Gadadhara will be there will be, in one sense, two Radhas also, and that will get in the way of the relishing, similar to the notion of why Gadadhara didn't go to Vrindavan. And in a similar way, like the acting student presents the result of his acting to the professor, his thesis to the professor, we'll say that Mahaprabhu is presenting the thesis to the teacher Gadadhara through Tota Gopinath. Because
what you mentioned.
Okay, Guru Dakshina. Elaborate.
No,
please, a few words. We talk about Dakshina Bhav these days, but what about Guru Dakshina?
Just very short. These moments where they go through every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very interesting. because Krishna knows the Bhagavatam, of course, from his own perspective. Like, itam sarat svajajalam patmakara sugandhina nyavisat vayanavyatam sagogo palakodita. Like in the beautiful night of autumn season, towards the night, how Krishna, the wonderful flute player, he's entering in the forest. He knows this from his own perspective. But what is Srimati Radhika experiencing? Already waiting, and how he's coming closer. This is a complete mystery. He cannot fathom it. So now Radhika goes through all the verses that Krishna knows from his own perspective. But now to open, he has to hear it from Srimati Radhika to get the other perspective. This is such a moment. Or Badaha Pidam Nadavadavapu Kainaya Kainikanam. Like when he's going cow herding in the morning, how Krishna is embracing all his friends and massaging the cows and a festival and saying goodbye to Madhya Yashoda and entering. And Srimati Radhika is behind the trees, looking how he's going, and she's begging, can I become a cowherd and boy in my next life? But again, also just embracing him such easily. So what is Radhika feeling at that time? This is a complete different world. Now Krishna is slowly experiencing this. And you just mentioned the thesis. Slowly, he's entering more and more in that bhav. So he's so thankful to Radhika. So he wants to give something back. And many acharyas say like, oh, at that moment, Mahāprabhu is even in Manjari Bhav. He went so deep in the mood of Srimati Radhika, even what her servants feel. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as like a servant of Srimati Radhika, is looking at Gadadhara, seeing her as Swamini, as Radhika. And he's saying, psht, psht. Radhika, look. And Gadadhara is like looking. And Mahaprabhu is like completely immersed in the bhav. And he's moving the sand. Look, Krishna is hiding here. This is how many times the manjaris are doing when they play hide and seek and they don't. Radhika is not finding where is Krishna. She said, look, he's there. And then she's like offering, look, here he is. And Srimati Radhika is so happy. So this is a very deep mood, how Gopinatha suddenly was given in the hand of Gadadhara, but also this extreme gratitude. I could now understand what is Radha Bhav and what is the deepest gift. If for Mahaprabhu now in the mood of Srimati Radhika, this is Krishna. And he's so grateful. Now as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Srimati Radhika, so the most precious thing is looking, is Krishna, is Gopinatha. But out of the thankful, you helped me to enter in this great love. I want to give the most precious thing of my heart to you. And he's offering Gopinatha in the hands of Gadadhara. Many moods.
Regarding Guru Dakshina.
It's like, yes, it's the moment of extreme thankfulness.
Sishanata, Adhikar Pramagurani. So I'm your disciple, your student.
Yes, what you gave me is like, I want to give you the most precious thing.
Guru Dakshina, as you may know, is like an expression classically invoked in the Vedic tradition that the disciple will go and live with the Guru for some time, And after finishing his or her education, there was a time for the disciple to offer Guru Dakshina or some donations and gift back because of so many things received from the Guru. So I think that was connected to what you were asking, Damayanti, like Mahaprabhu being the student, Gadadhara being the teacher, and as Guru Dakshina, Gorson, there's offering Gopinath back.
Because wherever Srimati Radhika looks, she's Krishna Mai. Manifest Krishna.
Well, we could say that Gopinath is the insight that the heart of Mahaprabhu taking shape. The insight that Mahaprabhu is having in tasting Radha in connection to Krishna and taking a particular form given to Radha as Gadadhara. And when Radha is seeing, when Gadadhara is seeing Tota Gopinath, Gadadhara realizes, oh, you have relished my moods. You are being successful you have been a good student. You have done your homework, basically. And from that place, Gadadhara starts to worship Gopinath. Gadadhara is worshipping the success of Mahaprabhu, the success of her Prananath. Because Gopinath is the embodied confirmation of the success of Gaur Krishna in relishing Radha Bhav. So Gadadhara is worshipping that. He's not just worshipping a deity again. It's worshipping, adoring the success of her beloved, so to say. So here we have Radha, Gadai, worshipping the fruit of Krishna's success as Mahaprabhu. Because again, Gopinath is the embodied confirmation that Mahaprabhu tasted Radha Bhav. And as we will see later, then Mahaprabhu would say that when he left his body, he entered that Gopinath, which is nothing but his own heart, so to say, which further confirms this purpose. And that was the Ishtadev of Gadādhara Paṇḍita, basically, Gopinath.
Yes. I was wondering about Manjariba. You mentioned Mahaprabhu was also able to experience that. Was there some reason externally that made a wish come up in him that I want to experience that? Or was it like just a flow of, like you just said, that it was just going so deep in Radha Bhav that he experienced it? Or was it also by association maybe externally? Because I was thinking Gadadhara is Radharani, so maybe by the association of some other Vaishnavas. God please give. I think when Krishna wants to enlarge his perspective what Srimati Radhika feels, then you go in, because Krishna couldn't feel what is Radhika feeling. But now he became so empathic in one way. I want to feel what she feels, but then it like expanded because empathy has no end.
And once you become empathic, you start to realize how much more empathic you can become.
Exactly. Right? And there are some persons who feel also what Radhika feels. They're her close servants. So in that adventure pilgrimage, Mahaprabhu entered that realm also. And the statements in Chaitanya Charitamrita are extremely beautiful. It's like, you mentioned Chataka Parvat. Just when Mahaprabhu is singing, just next to Tota Gopinath, he sees a dune of sand. And he's just running completely mad. And all the Vaishnavas, they try to follow him because he shouldn't be hurt. They want to, when he's falling down, they want to keep him and embrace him. But Mahaprabhu is so quick. He's just running. And then really he's falling down at this sand dune. And he's completely, we cannot say unconscious, super conscious.
Yeah, the other way around. Yeah.
So, and they don't know what to do. So any devotee in any situation, I don't know, we heard of Dhruva, He doesn't know what to say before the Lord. So names are coming out. So the devotees, they were just singing the names. Mahaprabhu laying at the bed in the sand.
Potential disturbance there.
Yeah. So Gora is like awakened, and then he said, "Where am I?" And he's seeing all the devotees. And then he's like opening his heart. He said, "I was at Govardhan. I was right there." And Radha and Shyam, they went in a cave of Govardhan. And Lalita, she ordered me to pick flowers. And I was so happy. The divine couple is in a cave of Govardhan, but this little servant of the divine couple, Amanjari, by plucking flowers, she's experiencing like in a more intense way, even what the divine couple is experiencing there. Because the more you enter in the seva above, the more you experience. So this was a very, very blissful experience. And at one point, Lalita said, "Come, come. Now you can offer these flowers to them." And I just wanted to enter, and then there was a tumultuous noise.
Called Kirtan.
This is a moment where Mahaprabhu is experiencing.
Yeah. The god of empathy. I remember talking with Radha Madhav. He wrote one article, nice article about Mahaprabhu in the Ishtadev of empathy. So anyhow, just to conclude about this section on Tota Gopinath, how Gadādhara Paṇḍita at the distance from Tota Gopinath, Mahaprabhu is in Gambhīra. Yeah, he was.
No. It's like his empathy. He could feel what Radhika is feeling by the mercy of Gadadhara, but then his empathy like exploded. And he can also feel the moods and the inner bhav of those who are so close to Radhika.
That was from himself. He didn't need a guru to help him. That's his empathy.
It was like the starting point was Gadadhara.
Yeah, the guru's help was there in the back. Yeah. 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 Mhm. So in this way, yeah, the more Mahaprabhu was, all the things that Mahaprabhu was experiencing in Gambhīra, as we were saying earlier today, Gadadhara will have darshan of that while worshipping Gopinath. So Gopinath will be like a very transparent mirror that was reflecting what was going on in Mahaprabhu's. Because though, as you said, Mahaprabhu brought Gopinath to Gadadhara as a Guru Dakshina or a result of his thesis, still after that there was so much to continue to explore. So it's not that after that was no further experience of Radha Bhav. So when they were at the distance from each other, Mahaprabhu will continue to plumb the depths of Radha Bhav, and Gadadhara at that point could no longer go to Gambhīra, as we already mentioned, explained why. But he will see, like witness, like a sporty, have a revelation through his worship of Gopinath, what was going on in Mahaprabhu's heart. And he will see that and he will worship that. Again, for us, the deity In general, many times the deity is always the same. That was not the case for Gadadhara. At every blink, there was something new in Gopinath, some new mood, something new that Mahaprabhu was relishing. In that way, Tota Gopinath becomes the Ishtadev of Gadadhara, of Radha. And a few words that I want to share in connection to him. And of course, not only Tota Gopinath confirms that Mahaprabhu was successful in tasting Radha Bhav, because again, as we say, the ocean of Radha Bhav is unfathomable, so there's no end to the project. And now, by Gadadhara Pandit's service attitude, Mahaprabhu is even more indebted than ever before, as we were saying. So that's another way of, as you were saying before, why Tota Gopinath is appearing, sitting in front of Radha Gadadhar, like the same way in that he sat in Braja, confirming those same words, Napara Yeham, no? Like now Tota Gopinath is Krishna sitting in front of Gadadhar, Radha. He's saying like, I'm totally indebted to you. I try to repay back. It's not possible. And that's why we need a Nitya Naudi for the adventure to continue. And in one sense, there is no need for any other lila on top of that to continue trying to complete it. Confirmed. So I'd like to share a few words on Gadadhara Pandit's last days. A few brief words to conclude our sharing tonight. I don't want to make it too long. But as we were saying, Gadadhara Pandit stayed on earth like 11 months after Mahaprabhu passed, with big struggle to remain alive during that time, no? Because after Mahaprabhu passed, it was basically unbearable to, every breath was struggle. And as we say, when Mahaprabhu passed, it is said that he entered the deity of Tota Gopinath. It's one of a few versions. No? One other is that he entered Jagannath. Another we hear that he entered into the ocean in Puri, and one someone asked Tulasida Maharaj, so which is the bona fide one? And he said all of them. Like he will quote this verse from the Bhagavata, Mala Nama Sanuniran Naravaram, when Krishna enters the arena of Kamsa, and different people are seeing him differently. Subjective, objective. And all of them have their particular right vision. So in the same way, he will say there are few perspectives of how Mahaprabhu passed. And there are, those at least are bona fide, but we hear mostly from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other acharyas, the Tota Gopinath version is the favorite, let's put it that way. And in Bhakti Ratnakar, it's described, Narahari Chakravarti describes like the terrible suffering of Gadadhara Pandit in separation from Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu passed. And it is said that Gadadhara Pandit actually only managed to remain alive because of to meet with Śrīnivāsa Ācārya, which is something that Mahaprabhu asked him. It is said that Mahaprabhu merged, at least to Bhakti Ratnakar, merged into Tota Gopinath, and when Gadadhara Pandit, imagine, no? I mean, Gadadhara Pandit was there in Tota Gopinath, worshipping Tota Gopinath, but when Mahaprabhu merged into Tota Gopinath, it's said that Gadadhara Pandit didn't see that. He just saw Mahaprabhu's clothes, like outside of Tota Gopinath. So he was about to die himself at that very moment, like not able to tolerate one single moment alive without his prananath. And it is said that Mahaprabhu revealed in his heart, like, please stay alive a few more months. I would like you to teach Srimad Bhagavatam to Śrīnivāsa Ācārya. So that again highlights the Anukul Bhav of Gadadhara Pandit. No? If it's for me, I will die right now. But somehow I will manage not to die. To fulfill this last request of Mahaprabhu. So you may know the story. I will briefly tell it because it's a touching one, that Śrīnivāsa Ācārya received this invitation to go to Puri and learn Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhara Pandit, who, as we say, is the topmost teacher of Bhagavatam, Radha herself speaking about the Bhagavatam. So he goes, he arrived finally to Puri. He was not living in Puri, and when he arrives to Gadadhara Paṇḍita, Gadadhara Paṇḍita was in his last months of life, totally emaciated, and he said, "I come to learn Bhagavatam from you." And Gadadhara said, "Yeah, I know. I already know. No? Mahāprabhu requested me to not die for you." No, imagine that, right? to keep my life together so I could teach Bhagavatam to you. And Śrīnivāsa Ācārya already. The lesson has not officially started, but that in itself was enough. And then Gadadhara points to the Bhagavatam, to his Bhagavatam, and say, "But I have a problem here." And they open the palm leaves of the Bhagavatam, and all the ink was washed away by the tears of Gadadhara Pandit. And we were saying Srimad Bhagavatam Sadasvanayana Ashrupayana Pujayam, this pranam mantra of Srila Siddhar Maharaj. Gadadhara will worship the Bhagavatam with his tears. Those were his flower offering, and his streams will wash away the ink. So here you have the Bhagavatam of Gadadhara Pandit. No? Cannot get deeper than that, with blank pages. It's empty, but it's empty because of the tears of love, of what Radha is feeling. We're speaking the Bhagavatam to Mahāprabhu. So it's a completely fulfilled emptiness, right? Because the pages are empty. There's nothing there. Nothing. They have been washed away by the tears of Gadadhara. That's everything. It cannot get more everything than that. No? So again, this is the classical pattern in Gadadhara. Emptiness, but that apparent emptiness, it's the most complete fullness. So this one more time plays out in this particular image. I remember, I don't know why, but Jacques Derrida, I'm going now to a postmodernist, but he will say once, he wrote an interesting book about blind people and paintings done by blind people, another topic. But the last line of the book, it's kind of, sometimes maybe the whole book is not that convincing, but you reach the last line and say, okay, that's my reading is justified. Here, the last line said, the function of the eyes is not to see, is to cry. Okay. Even the rest of the book was not so interesting. That line justifies everything. Here we are seeing that embodied in Gadadhara. Eyes just crying. And when you cry a lot, you stop seeing, literally. So, but you are, because you are seeing something else. There's a type of blindness induced by a type of vision. So anyhow, that was the situation. And Gadadhara said, we cannot study the Bhagavatam without a proper Bhagavatam. In his humility, he will say that. So Śrīnivāsa goes to Navadvip to get a copy of the Bhagavatam. No? At that time, you couldn't just...
600 kilometers.
Exactly, 600 kilometers, rather than going to archive.org and downloading a PDF of the Bhagavatam, going to database or anything. So that was a long pilgrimage unto itself to get a copy of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam itself is a pilgrimage, but to get the pilgrimage, you need to embark upon another pilgrimage. And he was a little nervous because he realized it may not be too long for Gadadhara to leave this world. So I better hurry up. So he went as fast as he could from Puri to Navadvip again. And it was not that he got there and the Bhagavatam was ready and given. No? It has to be written and prepared, so it took time. So when he returns finally to Jagannath Puri with his copy, brand new copy of the Bhagavatam to study with Gadadhara, he realized that Gadadhara Pandit had passed already. It was too much for him. Already he had talked about it to Śrīnivāsa indirectly by just by basically pointing to the blank pages. That's the fullest darshan you can get of the Bhagavatam. That it was too much for Gadadhara to tolerate, continue living in separation of Mahāprabhu. So one of the versions of the story say that at that moment Śrīnivāsa Ācārya went mad and he ran thinking, okay, Gadadhara Pandit is no longer here on earth. I need to take shelter in someone. I'm going to Vrindavan. There's Rupa Goswami. But again, it takes some time to go running from Puri to Vrindavan. Even more than to go from Puri to Navadvip. So it took months. No? And when he arrives to Vrindavan, there is some kind of celebration. And he arrives to Vrindavan, he has to What's the celebration here? We're celebrating the passing of Srila Rupa Goswami, the second thunderbolt. So to say that for Śrīnivāsa that was too much. So he fainted, he collapsed. And when he woke up, he was woken up by Srila Jiva Goswami, who was the Radha Damodar with his school, if you will. And that he was taken by Jiva Goswami with him, and Jiva Goswami was the one who taught him Srimad Bhagavatam, which we could say was a particular arrangement. Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhara to do this. Gadadhara did the best he could in the agony of separation, which was a lot. And then eventually he ended up learning from Jiva Goswami that, again, it cannot get better to learn the Bhagavatam from Jiva Goswami. So Gadadhara Pandit disappeared in Jagannath Puri, again in Amavasya. As we spoke, he was born on Amavasya, the dark side of the moon. He disappeared of Amavasya to make the full circle and make the point clear about which was the tenor of his life, like the bhav, the mood in which he came. Last week we were celebrating that, the same day that Bhaktivinoda Thakur disappeared. That was in our year 1535. So in 9 years we will be celebrating 500th anniversary disappearance of Gadadhara Pandit. See you in 9 years for the festival. Please don't die before that. Again, manage to continue living. And again, some people will say that Gadadhara Pandit passed away. That was like 2 days before Ratha Yatra, because many will say that for him it was too unbearable to be in a Ratha Yatra without Mahaprabhu present. It was too much for him. And then we have the passing of Swarup Damodar, who passed on Ratha Yatra. So some will make the case a similar case, that he managed to survive till Ratha Yatra, but Mahaprabhu was not there. It was too much. So it's interesting because in connection to Swarup Damodar, going back to Tota Gopinath, to say that Swarup Damodar entered the deity of Lalita, which is next to Tota Gopinath. Swarup Damodar is Lalita Sakhi. Mahaprabhu entered the deity of Tota Gopinath, and Gadadhara entered the deity of Radha. No? This is very interesting, because having darshan of Tota Gopinath, Radha, and Lalita is in one sense to having darshan of Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar, and Gadadhara Pandit, and their samadhis plus. So all that is in that place, in that altar. So anyhow, a few thoughts we want to share today about Tota Gopinath, service of Tota Gopinath by Gadadhara Pandit, and a little bit about his last days. And tomorrow we will be concluding our Saptaha by trying to bring it all together, hopefully some full circle, and speaking about the adoration of Gaur Gadadhara and how, due to all the things that they represent, what are we invited to give, how we are invited to imbibe what they represent in our daily life, in our eternal prospect. Is there anything you would like to share, to ask, whatever? Is that a raised hand, Damayanti? Okay.
To this scene with Śrīnivāsa and Gadadhara Pandit, I'm wondering, maybe you can share a little bit more words about why Gadadhara Pandit actually sent him away, because actually for Gadadhara Pandit there is no need to have a copy of the Bhagavata.
Not for him, but maybe for the student. Yeah. Yeah, of course. For Gadadhara Pandit, it's totally internalized. You don't need the book. But in one sense, for the student, the teacher may know the textbook by heart, so to say. And the student, of course, is no ordinary student. We don't want here to downplay Śrīnivāsa Ācārya, but he was there as a student, and a copy of the Bhagavatam will be in place like a textbook for the student. Even if the teacher knows the book by heart, he will say the student, get a copy of this book. That would be a reason. Another reason also could be, sometimes I've heard that Gadadhara knew I may not be able to survive much longer, and he didn't want to pass in front of Śrīnivāsa. It will be like too much also. And the darshan of the empty pages of the Bhagavatam were a lesson, a Bhagavatam lesson for life unto itself. Like, here's the essence of the Bhagavatam. You want the class of the Bhagavatam? Here's the essence. Blank pages, washed away by tears of love. Then Jiva Goswami will tell you the details of that in a few months. Without saying that, of course. So different ways to understand that.
Like Krishna sent Uddhava in the Himalayas. He couldn't leave because these bhaktas have so great love. How can he leave? So he sent him to the Himalayas, and he can go uppercut. So he sent Śrīnivāsa Ācārya away.
Yeah, but again, I think this moment of pointing to him, to the empty pages, which overtly, that's the reason. Overtly, so that was just, he pointed to the pages to tell him, actually, we don't have a book, get one. But that's not the, and Śrīnivāsa Ācārya, of course, he was enough of a good student, to say the least, to realize, okay, why there are no pages? Because this and that. Okay, let me stay with that for a moment before getting the book. This is the book. Yeah, again, very indirect, if you will, but it's all there.
And could even Gadadhara even given more Bhagavatam class without, out of such separation, would he even been able to teach a class? Sure.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it. That's as much as Gadadhara could teach the Bhagavatam at that point. Now, there are no more words to be said. This is as much as I can show you. No? Which again, if you have the eyes to see in that emptiness, in that blank pages, you realize the fullness that is being already given, and the appreciation of what he was feeling at that moment for Mahāprabhu. Again, all that is Bhagavatam in motion. Well, that is the lesson unto itself, as much as could be given from Gadadhara, and then everything was arranged for him then to learn it from Jiva Goswami. So, yeah.
Anything is known about the relationship between Gadadhara and the Goswamis? Anything else? Yeah. Because, it is kind of mystical, isn't it, that these Goswamis are their maid servants, and that they are being sent away, and nothing is known about the relationship, about them coming together, discussing, sharing.
Coming together, Goswamis and Gadadhara.
It's about it, but Gadadhara and Goswamis, nothing is revealed. This would be interesting. And, I think this was a question. Is anything known, or has in the meantime has something come up, and then we learn about this?
Challenge.
You can just say one thing. Many essential things have to be meditated and chanted. So it's not whole Bhagavatam, whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, when we look deeply, it's only hints. Every lila we get. You know, if someone really starts experiencing and it becomes real, then one knows. These 18,000 verses is like nothing. This is just, I always feel the whole Bhagavatam and all Shastra is just if you're on the path here and then you see these yellow Swiss signs, Unya, from the place here. This is, you're not there. It's just some...
Like a finger pointing to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. So the main thing, you know, between every of the 18,000 verses, when Nam is like revealing, then millions of verses will be entering in between to make it completely alive. So, and this is like you have a little hints, but now the ball is in us, you know, how to slowly get, but what I feel is, especially these two moments when Mahāprabhu meets Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, it externally it looks like shikshas, Rupa shiksha and Sanatana shiksha, and it looks like Mahāprabhu is sitting at the bank in Varanasi and in Prayag and instructing them. But from the whole development, we know it's the other way around. Mahāprabhu was with Ramananda Roy, was with Vishaka, and got so much, but it was not enough. Now Mahāprabhu needs the association of Srimati Radhika's close servants, Rupa Manjari and Labhanga Manjari. So for fine-tuning, and only then they prepare Mahāprabhu and the whole spirit to really understand their Swamini. So, you know, to really prepare his mind. So, and these kind of sevas are like, they hand over Krishna in the hands of, they put Krishna now in the hands of their Swamini. So this is like one of the deepest sevas the Manjaris do. You know, now they are there in Prayag and in Varanasi, and they like hint, now you go further to our Swamini, now you go to Puri. And what are the Manjaris doing in Vrindavan? So often they make arrangement, oh Krishna, you should go there to Srimati Radhika. So, and I think when Mahāprabhu enters the Tota Gopinatha garden, she feels, this is the gift from my Manjaris. So, no, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to the Tota Gopinatha garden where where Gadādhara is residing. So this is like, she feels, this is the gift of my Manjaris, this is the gift of Rupa and Sanatana. They
have facilitated the access.
Yes, they sent him here now for further. They prepared him to be able that he can come here. And I'm sure, you know, there is many aspects, especially of Puri Leela, is seva in separation. We know this, that but everything what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing in Puri, this is the verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is exactly that what Srimati Radhika experiences.
Amargita.
Yes, when Krishna left Vrindavan and when Uddhava came to Vrindavan, like pain of separation. That's why Puri is also called a Vipralamba Kshetra. So it's a painful place, but
sweetly painful place.
Yes. Yatta Dekha Vaishnav. This is the verse. So
Just making sure.
because this is like the realm, so now also the seva that the manjaris, that the Goswamis do, is like a little seva in separation. They in Vrindavan. But it's a very close connection. So it's like the atmosphere of seva in separation. Maybe you like to add more.
And in one sense also, of course, thank you for all of that, and especially what you shared about how whatever we find in the scriptures is only a hint, and in one sense what's to be found in between the lines is way more, actually, not even a little more, but way more that you will find overtly, in Shastra. Not to downplay what's in the scripture, but to actually honor what's in the scripture, where the scripture is trying to take us to a realm of experience from where new scripture come, basically. No, and I was just going to say that in complement to what you mentioned, the Goswamis going to Vrindavan also, though overtly is establish temples and write books, and it may sound a little bit more like structural, institutional, missionary spirit, which may sound a little bit conflicting with all the things we just said, but actually all those things that Mahaprabhu tells to the Goswamis is a way of saying, go and give shape to all of this, so this gift can be extended to others. So it's all in connection to what you just said. No, they're establishing deities or temples or writing books. It's not just writing books, establishing temple, but it's all in the context of Sri Caitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Like establishing in the world the wish of Mahaprabhu and the experience, and doing it in separation. Even doing that, as we said the other day, indirectly to some degree, because in one sense, the Goswami didn't speak so much, didn't write so much about Mahaprabhu. They mostly wrote about Radha Krishna Lila, but as we said the other day, they did so in such a way that if you are reading that with the proper heart, you conclude there must be a Gaur Lila. You start to look for Mahaprabhu after reading the Goswami. If you read the Goswami, probably it's like, where is Mahaprabhu? So indirectly, it's all, again, lots of indirectness, lots of separation, lots of invitation to look in between the lines.
And just Manjaris could do a seva like this because they are the most intimate, and they are the one who can catch other people like they did.
Yeah, are entrusted with something very, very, very delicate seva, very important one. Yeah, and they know how to convey that because they're so close to what they are experiencing. So yeah.
Like Rupa Goswami says, oh, I got one little drop of the unlimited ocean of Gaur Prem from him. And from this one drop, I started to expand. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujvala Nilamani, and all this Utkali Cavalry. So it's like, from the one drop I got, he's mentioning that. Tare Eka Bindu, from this one little drop, suddenly expanded. And maybe this is what everyone should do.
Siddhanta Baliya Chitta.
Na Karoala.
Which is another way of understanding that, right? Take the revelation and turn it to the point that the drop becomes an ocean. Do not be lazy.
And do you make these? We're going to say something. Do you make these experiences already that in the name, the between the line things are being revealed?
I didn't understand.
18,000 verses of the Bhagavata is actually nothing. But,
No, nothing. No, nobody say nothing.
So that between the verses there are millions and millions of verses hidden, which will become revealed by.
Yeah, that's all. That's all the books of the Goswamis is that basically.
And is
All
it
the
an
books of the
experience?
Goswamis are revolving around the Bhagavatam. So it's like a churning, further churning of the bath, and then you have all the books of the Goswamis is Shat Sandar, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Uchpal Nilamani, Lalit Madhava, Bidagda Madhava, Gopal Shampu, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Even many of the books are called Bhagavatam. No? Bhagavata Sandarbha, the Shat Sandarbha is actually called Bhagavata Sandarbha. So it's all an extension of the Bhagavatam. It's all the Goswamis showing. This is also the Bhagavatam. And then on top of that, let's talk about Mahāprabhu more directly, the next generation, Caitanya Bhagavatam. No? So that's also Bhagavatam. Yeah.
And I was thinking,
Like
Does any one of you make this experience that Krishna Chandra was telling, right? That by chanting the holy name, these revelations which are vibrating between the bronzes,
So you're asking if anyone had that experience? Yes, why not?
Vishwacharya.
I'm reading Shivaram Swami's Vilap Kusumanjali. I don't know if it came because of my chanting. There are 108 verses and he writes thousands of
104.
104, and he writes thousands of pages. To each verse, 50 pages, 40, 50 pages. And if you read it, it's his meditation. So it's expanding. Anyway, this is not my realization, but I'm allowed to read what can happen.
Or, you know, if you make a saptaha about Gadādhara,
Yeah,
you know, I don't see one book about Gadādhara. So go in any library of Vaishnavas. They say, come on, 7 days on the topic of Gadādhara. And then suddenly we would, no, now we are just scratching. We could, you know, the main thing would now be that the next thousands of seminars, days will go. Now we try to meditate each and every verse of the Bhagavatam from the perspective how Radhika sees and how Mahāprabhu is there in the garden. I say,
Yeah. And I wish I would be mentioned Krishna Chandra, because part of the intention of this series that we are doing was also like to give each of us, all of us, including me, like a sense of wonder about, as you say, you will be talking 1 week about Gadādhara Paṇḍita, but what will you be able to say? I mean, for a whole week, and to follow, for all of us to have an experience like, wow, so much. And it's not that it has all been said again, it's just touched, been sprinkled by a drop. This is the same example when Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta will publish his Nadia Prakash, its daily newspaper on spiritual news. As someone asked him like once, but at one point you will run out of news. No?
about Harikatha.
About Harikatha. Every day you're publishing. And then you don't tell that to Bhaktisiddhanta. So he said that, I mean, every day you have how many newspapers here in Kolkata speaking about the news from the limited world. And there's so much to say every day. 17 newspapers in Kolkata about the news of Sakunta, not Vaikunta, Sakunta, a place of anxiety. And in
accidents and war.
Yeah, and in my newspaper I speak about the news of Vaikunta, the realm of unlimitedness. And you tell me that I will run short of news. He concludes saying, if I could do it, I will publish 1 newspaper per second. The only problem, not enough interest in the customers. That's what he said. But for me, I'm publishing a newspaper at every second. I have enough news to share regarding what we are talking, right? We are just speaking about the infinite. But there's not enough if interest, so I have to limit myself to once per day. Yeah, but I appreciate what Krishna Chandra was mentioning today in the morning. Also, after breakfast, he was pointing to me one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. No, when the translates Krishna, Arjuna is telling to Krishna, "You only know yourself through your own Shakti." No, and Krishna is like, and I was like, because I've been already for a future book project I have. I want to go to the Bhagavad Gita and to find verses that are pointing to Gaur Lila. I playing that out, and then to the Bhagavata, and I'm going to those verses that are not overtly in the verse, but are in between, and that's one of them. But there are so many.
10, 15.
Yeah. Yeah, and Yayatamam Prapadyante could be another one also. Like, as you worship me, I reciprocate. If you play out the implications of that, you have Gaur Lila. And regarding your question, Anurag, and this may not be too appropriate to share in public, but I'll do. And any problem, Anuradha will cover my back. No problem. No, but once you were asking, I mean, it's a moment of sharing some personal experience in connection to what you were mentioning, and it's all grace. It's not here about boosting about one's merit or capacity, because it was not that. But one day there's this famous verse from the Bhat and the Atmaram verse, Atmaramas chamona yunirgranta pirukrame urbanti haitukim bhaktim itambuta guno hari, which is this verse that Mahaprabhu explained in so many ways. To Sanatana Goswami, to Sarvabhauma Ācārya, so much in that verse. So I remember one day I was contemplating that verse, and somehow I felt, again, without thinking, without making like a conscious effort, but how this verse could be speaking about Mahaprabhu, Gaur Lila. And again, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar at all, but somehow I start to, okay, this is what the word means, and this, and this, and this, and this. Okay, this could mean this and this if read this way. I mean, I wrote 2 articles about that years ago, so I won't go into the details now, but I ended up with a rendered reading of the same verse, which actually was clearly speaking about Krishna leaving his Atmaram stage, he being the Atmaram, leaving that aside, and being willing to become Urukram. The word Urukram appears there, like the great adventurer in the context of exploring his own heart, and all that converging in Gaur Lila. But of course, I was not sure. I mean, I don't want just to be crazy with my own speculations. So I wrote to a few Sanskrit scholars, wrote to Babaji as well, and I was like, is this legal? Basically, I didn't ask like that, but I'm reading this interpretation came literally. It was not really like my genius, because there is no such thing. So it came, was grace probably, as a result of some prayer. And he said, oh, that interpretation is very noble, but is perfectly accurate. So Jai. So again, that's a way, that's an experience that I personally had in connection to, okay, there's this verse of the Bhat, and it was funny for me because that's a verse that Mahaprabhu interpreted in so many ways, and somehow it came to me like, well, there's one way that he did not interpret this verse, which is how that verse is speaking about himself. No? But he's coming in a covert way, so he's not like opening saying, hey guys, I'm all. So it felt like, okay, this disclosure came by grace, and hopefully Mahaprabhu is not getting angry that we're like unmasking him. He's in seva. So anyhow, that came like sharing as well in terms of how, again, and I was like, again, humbled by what happened, and realizing, wow, so much is there in every verse, every line. Yeah. Again, that must be what Mahaprabhu Krishna himself is experiencing in the unimaginable degrees while listening the Bhagavatam from Gadadhara, as Krishna Chandra was saying, from that perspective. Like Srila Sri Maharaj would love to say, change your angle of vision. Well, that's Gaur Lila, right? That's Krishna embracing that instruction in Gaur Lila. Change your angle of vision. Wow, how it looks from this place. Yeah. Okay. Maivan. No. Swarup Damodar. Yeah. I can tell more. Sorry? Who he was? Tell us. I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
We need a whole separate retreat. That's in 6 years, right? We already covered the next 5 years, 6. By the trailer by Krishna Chandra. What will come in 2032? Yeah.
It's just another interesting friend of Gauranga in Navadip. He stays with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadip. This is like whenever the Lord directly comes in this world, then his eternal associates, they come with him from the spiritual world. Also, and some fortunate souls we can also join. On the travel, we went to Maya yesterday.
Yeah.
We spoke about the dog.
I'm recording the lecture. You may need to clarify to our audience which was the travel to Maya. We don't want to get in. We don't want to get in the public. Where is this?
The whole ashram, they went to Maya. So Maya is a wonderful mystical place in the middle of the forest, and it's mentioned on the map, Maya.
That's it. Continue. Sorry.
We don't get bad reputation.
We don't care for repetition.
So we spoke about this dog shortly, the dog of Shivananda Sen, who is not an eternal associate coming from there, but a very fortunate Shiva soul be able to meet them. So, but Swarup Damodar is like from the most intimate circle. He's in Navadvip and Gauranga is with him. That time his name is Purushottam. And he also took, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he also took sannyas and he became Swarup Damodar Goswami. So, and it's like
many ways similar to Gadadhar situation, both in Navadvip and Puri, taking sannyas similar time,
and being constantly
Mhm.
With Mahaprabhu, and because Lalita he's Lalita Swarup Damodar, so she's such an intimate, wonderful servant, a friend of Srimati Radhika. So now, especially in the nights in Gambhira, we hear constantly in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radhika, she can hardly survive or contain. Suddenly, out of Lalita's Swarup Damodar's heart, many, many verses are streaming, because he knows Radhika very much. So it's pacifying so much. And one time when when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Gambhira, we spoke about a few days ago how how Srimati Radhika in this little room in Yavat, and she couldn't contain. She had to, somehow run. Mahaprabhu, many times he had to flee and run out from Gambhira. He disappeared. Even at the little door of Gambhira, Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, Vishaka and Lalita, they were sleeping before the door. But suddenly it was silent inside. So something happened, and they went inside. Mahaprabhu is not there. So this was middle in the night, and they had like an alarm system. All the bhaktas immediately awakened without mobiles. Everyone was activated on the search, and they spread all over Puri. Where's Gauranga? So, but where did Swarup Damodar go? It's very interesting. He ran to the shore of the ocean and he went north. So if you walk from the ocean in Puri 40 kilometers north, you arrive at the Sun Temple Konark. It's a very famous ancient temple. So why did Swami Padmanabha run there? Because Lalita knows when Srimati Radhika has great pain of separation, she can take shelter of one very special place in Vrindavan called Surya Kund. So, this is how it's very wonderful. And the deeper we go also in our spiritual life, I feel we need companions who can nourish that. That's why Shri Guru comes not into play when I don't know what to do with my life. Should I marry Maharaj or should I don't know, should I take this job or this job? This is not anything. Shri is not the place of Shri Guru. Go to coaches and go to friends and whatever. But the deeper one goes, this is where the necessity comes, Maharaj said. Only then deep friends come. And when Gauranga Krishna, on his search for Radhabhav, has such a great necessity, that's why the most deep friends are needed, like Swami Padmanabha.
Shri Swarup Damodar ki jai, Shri Gaur Gadadhar ki jai, Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Shri Kalsi ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Bol.